Let's get into this. The president's meeting with the Russian President Vladimir Putin on U.S. soil, something that you say gives him legitimacy that he doesn't really deserve, in your opinion. But you also say that President Trump, he has quite a significant upper hand for a number of reasons. One of them is that central bankers in Russia, they're forecasting a recession. Another one is that inflation is moving higher in Russia. And the third is that foreign direct investment has pretty much come to a halt. He says previous years, about $100 billion. Right now, it's sitting at zero. So how should the president play these advantages?
Oh my gosh, Frank, I cannot believe at this hour you did your homework so thoroughly. I should be interviewing you. You exactly nailed it. We had anticipated, and frankly, back in November, at writing with the Trump administration hostage expert Adam Bowler, that if he had the potential to neutralize Iran, which he did. And we also suggested on Inauguration Day, we put out that a lot of people missed that President Trump had migrated his position in ways that a lot of critics failed to see. You know, we all hope it holds, you never know, but that he actually was criticizing Putin's economic distress, which a lot of people didn't understand, that Putin puts out a lot of propaganda. He has suppressed his national income statistics from the IMF, which Lord knows why he gets a break from that. But every sector is down 60 to 95%. The 1,200 major companies that pulled out, you name it, 2/3 of their exports were energy, and that's fallen by half. And he's not really making money on that energy anyway. Nobody can buy his gas, and his oil is at break-even prices. So he's got real problems. And the president, I think Trump, he shows that. I think a lot of people were surprised, Frank, that he listened to the European leaders along with President Zelensky yesterday. He's not the only president to be influenced by the last person that talks to them. That's part of the job. A lot of people are like that. President Clinton, I know Clinton for 40 years, President Trump for 30 years. They're both susceptible to who talks to them last. And I think it's fantastic that such experts got to President Trump yesterday to orient him on this.
And I think he's going to actually try to get on a call with Zelensky as well, the Ukrainian president. So he may have more input that I guess you would characterize as anti-Putin. I want to go back to oil. So energy is about 2/3 of Russian exports. And right now you say that business isn't as profitable. Can the president use tariffs to impact the countries that are still buying oil from Russia and kind of squeeze that energy market even more, at least from the Russian perspective?
I'm so glad you asked that, Frank. We have about an hour to get into that because it is a lot more complicated than people realize. We actually are getting a little bit of Russian oil in here, despite the sanctions. It's coming in a secondary way from Turkey and especially from India. So President Trump is on the ball on this one, at least in plan to put down these 50% tariffs on India. It's true that China buys a lot of oil from Russia as well, but that Chinese refined oil from Russia is not coming to the U.S. Indian oil, some is, and some is from Turkey. I don't know why there aren't sanctions on Turkey yet, but perhaps some other personal political reasons. But nonetheless, that's something which could be done on the energy front. In terms of gas, a lot of, in fact, every economist that you and I know got it wrong. Is that gas? When people say, "Oh, it is easily recycled to a different country, repositioned," and Putin threatened to do that in retribution for European support to cut the EU off. But in fact, that gas is pretty much only regular, old-fashioned natural gas. It's fumes, it's vapor that has to go through pipelines, and he has no pipelines to Asia.
Got it.
So he can't sell that gas.
All right,
that's.
So, Jeff, we hit the energy aspect. I want to get to one last part that I think is maybe one of the more meaningful parts of this conversation that Trump and Putin are going to have. Why wouldn't the president just say, hey, you can keep some territory, let's end the war? Wouldn't that be a big win for President Trump to leave this summit with a deal? And it may not be the ideal deal, but just to kind of end the war and fulfill one of his campaign promises.
Well, I must say, as impressed as I am in the parent migration, which we hope holds in President Trump's position, that last piece has me worried because he surely has this Nobel Peace Prize in mind. He is very trophy oriented, and that is troubling because a land swap would be very dangerous. It would echo back to Neville Chamberlain's 1938 appeasement policy. You have to have Zelensky at the table. He can't give away somebody else's land. And just because the Donbass region they happen to speak Russian, that's the same argument, of course, that Hitler used, that they speak German in the Sudeten land of Czechoslovakia, to give that away. For that matter, we speak English. Should we be repatriated to the UK or Latin America back to Spain? That's crazy. So, and there's, some people were wondering if even Putin had in mind this being held in Alaska so he can reclaim Alaska. I think we need to be very careful about these land swaps without having the parties. And it sounds like President
Okay.
Trump admitted to, acknowledged yesterday, he conceded he no longer would be doing that threatened land swap. So let's hope that holds. We don't know if they're going to, who translators are going to be in the room, if they're going to be separate press conferences, or how this is going to unfold, what U.S. intel will count. We saw that he discounted that in Helsinki. So there are a lot of questions up in the air, but
Okay.
it's promising.